This will tell me a lot about you. Rank the Star Wars movies.
In terms of how good they are, or my personal favorites?
Your personal favorites.
Okay, so episode 3 is the best.
It's the number one for you?
It's the number one, hands down, no questions asked. I watch episode 3 at least twice a year on repeat.
But the number one
one, it's not even close. It's not even close.
Okay.
Not even close. The other ones might as well not exist.
Wow. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcaster, Raf and Elijah, coming to you with another great installment of the Grappling Hour. We have a fantastic guest with us here today. We'll talk to him in a second. But before we get back to him, first things first. If you like this show, and I hope that you do, go ahead and check us out on all of our major platforms. So you can go support us at patreon.com/grappling hour. If you go there, you can see our interviews 30 days before everybody else. So you see this interview, and then 30 days later, it goes out for free to everybody else. But for right now, just for you guys who are watching, it means if it's early, you guys paid. So $5 a month, you get to see it. And for extra bonus content, for just a few dollars more, you can see our premium content where we do a segment called Roast Raf, where people roast my competition footage. We do the Grappling Hour Challenge, where we give an athlete like Chris Wojcik, our good friend, a submission, and he has 2 minutes to get that submission on me. I figure you have to pay to see those, because they hurt. And anything that hurts me should really cost you money, I think. You can also check out extra bonus content not available anywhere else, and lots of extra bonus episodes. Additionally, if you like, comment, and subscribe this video, I will love you dearly. And if you don't know what you want to comment on, by the end of this video, I will give you a prompt. So stay tuned all the way to the end. If you want to support the show, this isn't the shirt that says Grappling Hour, but if you want to buy a Grappling Hour t-shirt or a hoodie, go to rafesparza.com/merch. And that is a huge help. Everything you buy goes directly back into the show. And last but not least, you can also check us out on Discord to continue the conversations that we have here on the show. All right, let's get to our guest. What can I say about this young man? He has done excellent work for Spar Star MMA. He has been a standout performer, and I've been told that maybe I overstepped the boundaries when I called him a submission specialist. But I had to have him come here and roll with me. And I have to tell you, Elijah, because I'm trying not to fuck up the last name. Hold on. Elijah, there we go. Elijah Bratton.
Nice.
I was going to do Bratton, but we talked about this.
Either work. You can call me whatever.
But Elijah here came to this gym, and I can affirm I was right. He is good at submission grappling. He might be a little modest about it, but my man has gotten several submission finishes for us at Spar Star, and he is a standout individual, but don't sleep on his striking. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome for the very first time, Elijah Bratton. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Did you enjoy the training here today, sir?
Yes and no.
Okay. What was the no part?
Getting beat up. That's always not fun.
You did not get beat. You were doing very well. Like
it was competitive. It was competitive. Yeah. But you were going easy on me. I'm like I said, I'm a humble blue belt, so I appreciate all the praise.
You're very good. Like, you have good instincts, and you've only been training for about 2.5 years for MMA. Not all of that has been jiu-jitsu, but you have a good mind for jiu-jitsu. And I like seeing where people are on their journey, because when you work with amateurs, everybody has a sliding scale. Some people are really good at one thing and not other things. So I've seen your stand-up, and I think it's pretty good. But you've gotten submissions, and I've been like, damn, dude, these were very creative. Your ninja choke submission, in particular, money.
It's something that we practice. My coach, we do a little bit of everything, but sometimes we'll drill down. If it's like, if I go in the morning, it's just a one-on-one. He'll be like, all right, you're going to heel hook me 100 times on each side. The ninja choke was the same. It's like, hey, we're gonna get one of the guys, and you're gonna do ninja choke on each side 100 times. So there's a couple things that I do know that I kind of have drilled in, but overall, I'm still a beginner. I'm still learning a lot, and like you said, I'm gonna stay humble. I don't want to talk about
I mean,
myself too
hey,
much.
listen, you don't have to talk about you. I'm just saying I got to see it right up close, and I felt like I was right about my assertions. So if anything, it just proved me further right. And I like charting your progress now because in the future. And at the end of our role, you were like, hey man, 2 or 3 more years, I'm coming after you more. And I thought, I kind of like that. Now, granted, you're going to be beating up someone who's even older than I am now.
Hey, I didn't say how or why I was going to win. If I have to wait until you're in a walker, I still will win, but eventually I will get you, is what I'm saying.
What I will tell you is this, is that now I know how competitive you are, so now I know how to use that against you. So we did do one thing that you said you're going to steal from me. So what is the one thing that you said you were going to steal from me when you take back to your gym that we were doing in the middle of our roles?
I'm going to do a setup for a modified Boston Crab and completely humiliate somebody.
I'm looking forward to it because, dude, you're lanky AF, and I feel like those are the people who have some of the trickiest games. But you also didn't like when I was doing what we call a gimmick pin, when if your shoulders were on the mat, I started counting 1, 2, 3. And the first time you were like, right, I got to kick out. And I could tell, I was like, nah, the kid's pretty competitive. Like, he's not going to let me just get these now.
Well, to be fair, in that case, it wasn't so much competitive. It was like, this is a good gimmick.
It's a skill, yeah.
For me and my skill sets. Because like I was telling you, I do sometimes on the bottom, if I feel like I'm not in danger, even if I'm in a losing position, I'll settle and be like, all right, I'm on bottom, but he's not doing anything.
Right.
But I need to change my mindset. Oh, I'm on bottom. I need to kick out. So I do like that.
Okay, you say that. And again, this is where I have to modify the humility, the humbleness of the martial artist, and the practicality of the goon that also wants to fight. Because when you said that, you literally go, I'm going to get people at my gym with this. And I was like, see, now I know you're like me, where I'm like, sometimes I just want to do it because I think I can get away with it. And then when I do it to our guys, I'm like, it's A, good for them, but B, really funny to me. So I feel like you have the same mix that I do.
Yeah, I think I am very competitive in a healthy way.
Yeah.
I'm like of the mindset that I don't really like to do anything just cause.
Yeah.
Like even if I'm like playing games with my family, like let's keep score. Like there needs to be a winner.
Okay.
Because I feel like it makes it more fun.
Yeah.
And like I hate it when people do stuff they don't try. So if I'm gonna do something, I want to go all in, and I'm not gonna go all in unless I have a chance of winning.
I've asked this for almost everybody who has mentioned they're competitive. Because why would you get into the sport if you weren't competitive? Have you ever had a moment when you realized, I might be getting a little too competitive for this game of Monopoly or with my family? Like, has that ever seeped in where you started to feel like this might be a little too much?
Yes, every time, but I don't stop.
Okay.
Like we'll be playing. We used to have not Monopoly. It was Life.
Oh, okay.
It was Life Twist and Turns. It had like a little thing you put your credit card in, and we would play. And my little sister at the time, she was like 7 or 8. She would cry every time because we'd all be like, no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You owe me this. You owe me this. I don't have any money. You're going negative. You're going negative. You're in debt now.
You got to teach her how it works.
Exactly,
That's how life works, dude.
There's no grace.
Dude, okay. That makes me laugh pretty hard because now I can see those elements, but at your core, and this is part of the reason why I did reach out, like when we did our short interviews, you seem like a really nice kid. So that was part of the reason why I said, I'd like to actually interview you, because when you do these setups, I don't want to hang out with somebody for what's really 2.5 hours where you roll and then you do this interview with somebody who I think is kind of a dick or who sucks. So for you, I was like, man, I got a very nice kid vibe off of you in a not nice sport. So there's always a part of me that thinks, how do you have the strength to navigate being that humble, nice guy when you have to show out and you have to do something like this? So it made me curious. And I have to say, getting to roll with you today, super humble, asking questions back and forth, great attacks. And then when you wanted to go and you wanted to be like a little bit faster in the pace, I was seeing what I felt like I saw with you in the cage, where I go, oh man, he transitions so great here. So I feel like the next time I commentate one of your matches, I think I'll know a little bit more on what to say. So I'm very excited about that. I have to ask this. You had this last win, and we've been trying to figure out a time to do this interview. But how would you describe your last fight? Because to me, I got to see a little bit more spectrum of your game, like all around. You had really good stuff. What was your takeaway from that last fight?
When I take away from a fight, well, when I fight in general, it's kind of hard to have a takeaway because, I guess, the adrenaline, I have to sit back and I have to watch it because it's gone.
Yeah.
I remember when I left the cage, I felt not disappointed, but I was like, that wasn't my best for sure. Before they raised my hand. So not even when I left the cage, when the bell rang, I was like, I wasn't not happy with it, but I was like, that wasn't my best. I could have done more. When I had the Dars, I could have finished it. I was just being lazy. I don't know why I didn't squeeze harder. I could have flipped on top of him. I don't know. I was waiting for him to strike, and then I was countering. I wasn't being the aggressor. I mean, I was being the aggressor in space, but not on the attack. So I was like, why did I do that? And then they raised my hand, and I felt like I deserved it, but I was like, I don't know. It felt like he did more damage. And then I go back and I watch it, and I'm like, okay, it looks better than I felt. I'm analyzing it, and I'm like, okay, I didn't so much do anything wrong. There's just my mindset wasn't right.
Right.
So what I'm going to take away from that is stop putting so much pressure on myself before and during, and just stick to the game plan and give myself those small wins. When I land a strike or something, I can't just be like, I didn't knock him out though.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to think, all right, I struck him. How am I going to proceed? So my takeaway is I need to, I guess, give myself more credit during and after the fight.
I would agree. And just so you know where I come from when I do the interviews after with you guys, I get a sense of that sometimes. I get a sense sometimes when I go up to you guys and I say hey man, let's talk about your fight. And I can very quickly assess if you're one of those guys who's being way too hard on themselves. I know when you have gotten to the point where you've started mentally saying shit to yourself, where you go, it wasn't a good fight, or I didn't do this. And I immediately go into you won for a reason. And even in the controversial fights where people are angry, the last couple times I've had people booing the guy who wins. Mm-hmm. And I have very little tolerance for that because I think don't take it out on them. Obviously it's a ref or a judge that sometimes impacts those things, but they didn't get it done in the cage. Mm-hmm. So your boy who you're booing or whoever, they got declared the winner today. And sometimes you have a good bounce and sometimes you have a bad bounce, but it's not because the crowd told you the way it's supposed to go. So I just like to tell people hey, be respectful. I'm talking to the winner, but I can 100% tell you when I walk in that cage, and if I do this to you and you don't start saying positive things or things that I feel are accurate to what the fight was, you'll see me very quickly correct that athlete and be like, hey man, you did pretty well. And here's why. Because I had a front row seat to your fight. So I get to tell you things that I see that I know you'll see later. So I try to be that first voice. But I did remember, from that interview, I did remember there was a little bit of I could have done better. Mm-hmm. And there's a little bit of me being take your props. You did fine. And then knowing hey man, let's do this interview. Because from my perspective, when I say I can see more of the breadth of your work, knowing the goal is to go pro one day, you want rounds like that. You want to feel that now so that you can make those corrections.
Yeah.
Because if you keep getting stoppages, that's dope too. I love that. Mm-hmm. But if somebody tests you and you're a pro, you may not know where to go. So that was my hope, is that that was the takeaway from that experience for you. But otherwise, a pretty good fight. All things considered, we're seeing a lot more evolution of your game, and we're seeing a lot more of where it is that you have to come. So I was pretty pleased. 2 questions though. So after your last fight, we were talking about doing this interview, and then you went and did another fight. So why the back-to-back on that one? Because you went from, hey man, we just saw you in Spar Star, to hey, let's do an interview. And yeah, I'm up for it. And I go, okay, great. And then we're starting to schedule, and you're like, oh, I might have something. And I go, oh, okay, no problem. And then you're fighting that next week, essentially. And I go, what the hell is going on? So how did that come together, and why was that back-to-back part of your schedule?
So it just kind of happens. I'll be training. Like, say I fight on Saturday,
Okay.
and then if I take no damage, I feel perfectly fine. The weight cut wasn't bad. And then on Thursday, my coach is like, "Hey, there's a guy at 55, so I don't have to do another like weight cut. What do you think?" I'll be like, "All right, whatever."
Yeah.
If I don't, it's the weight cut. If I have no injuries and I have no weight cut, I'll fight the next day. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. I'm here to get reps in.
Yeah.
I'm here to, like you were saying, this is amateur. My record is like, I like having a winning record, but I don't really care.
Yeah.
I just want to fight. It's fun. I want to get experience, so I'll fight every weekend if I need to. Like, if I can. I don't really, and I make a little money from the tickets, so
Yeah.
Win-win.
I just laughed because I saw it go back to back. And then my immediate thought was, I mean, you won, so I got no complaints. That's good business for you to have another win on the record. But in terms of me thinking like, yeah, you can tell this kid's still young because he can still do that. A lot of my guys, like, they central in. It's like a 6-week camp. And there are times we even tell them, we're like, you're not taking another fight for a minute. Like, sometimes they're super eager, and I'm like, hey, you need to ice this. You need to do this. Nah. So me seeing you do that, I go, it worked, and I'm happy for it. But I also don't see you aside from messaging you. So it's very surprising when I do see those things, and I go, oh, well, good for you.
So of my coaches, one's kind of like laissez-faire, like, you want to fight, you can fight.
Yeah.
And some of the other ones are like, hey, you need to come back a little bit. So they won't let me do anything that I'm not ready for. So if they ask me if I want to fight and I say yes, my other coaches might be like, sure, like, you might be a little hurt, but their word is final. Like, if they say, hey, I don't think you're ready, I'm not gonna be like, no, I know myself. I'm like, hey, whatever you think, you're the coach. So I'll never second guess it if they say, because they know better.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be stupid and be like, I'm gonna fight next week, if they're like, hey, no, you need more time.
I mean, it's good to be coachable. So that's a huge skill that a lot of coaches I know look for, which is that ability for us to see your flexibility to, hey, we really think this is a good idea for you, to then saying, you know what? He's smart enough to know to trust us so that we see something for him. That it's like, nah, this ain't the time. Or go. Now's the time to go. So yeah, that is good. So I'm wondering, because I've also been watching your social media, and there's a few questions I have based off of all this stuff, just to getting to know you a little bit better. Again, I was right. Super nice kid. Came over here, offering to help out, do small things, mop around. I'm like, yeah, nice kid. But yesterday on the social media, because it's pretty close to May the 4th be with you, you happened to go to a 20th anniversary of episode 3 in the theaters. And you revealed to me that you're a huge Star Wars nerd.
Yes.
So, can you detail what makes you such a huge Star Wars nerd?
So I guess the story is, my mom, she was a big fan of the original trilogy because, she's a little older.
Okay.
So going to the premieres of those movies. And then she became a super fan, and then she had us, and she was like, you guys are watching Star Wars. And then we all immediately hit it off with Star Wars. I've seen all of the movies like 100 times each. We used to go to, not used to, we are planning to still continue, but we go to Star Wars convention. We went to one in Indiana when I was young. Full costume. My brother, he dressed like little Lando Calrissian.
Oh, nice.
And he's like, sort of like known at like the conventions. Like, they had a playing card of him. Because he's like, one time he got called up on stage and he met Billy D. Williams in front of everybody. Like, it's a whole thing. So it's just like one of those things where it's like the property itself is cool, but like it's like the family, the thing that we all like. At the most recent Star Wars convention in Anaheim, my little sister, she was Ayla Sakura, which is a blue Jedi, and she was all painted up in blue when we got out of the car, and she started crying. We're like, Callie, what are you doing? Come on, let's go. And she's like, I'm in public and I'm blue. And she was just bawling it. It's just like things like that. It's just like, I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
So many good memories around the property. But I can be objective. I know that it obviously has flaws, but that doesn't change the fact that, like, as far as the property itself as a whole, it's just like near and dear to my heart. So
Yeah.
I love it.
Okay. This will tell me a lot about you. Rank the Star Wars movies.
In terms of how good they are, or my personal favorites?
Your personal favorites.
Okay, so episode 3 is the best.
It's the number one
It's the
for
number
you?
one, hands down,
Wow.
no questions asked. I watch episode 3 at least twice a year on repeat.
But the number one
Number
spot.
one, it's not even close. It's not even close.
Okay.
Not even close. The other ones might as well not exist.
Wow.
All right. Episode 3, I could watch it once a week and I would never get tired of it.
Okay.
Partially because of the flaws, the funniness of it.
Sure.
I'll tell you this: when we were in the theater,
Yeah.
the classic scene, Master Skywalker, what are we going to do? And he turns the lightsaber on. I was laughing so hard. There was a little kid next to me, and he was talking to his dad the whole movie. It was kind of annoying me, but like, I don't think he'd ever seen it. And he was like, I started laughing. He was like, "This guy's a monster." And I was like, you don't know. You don't know. You don't know the memes. No. But yeah, episode 3. It's the coolest.
Okay.
I love the clone troopers.
Okay.
So it has the most of the clone troopers.
Okay.
It has the most epic soundtrack.
Okay.
It has the Duel of the Fates from episode 1, and it has the Battle of the Heroes, which is Obi-Wan and Anakin at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So it has the best score.
Okay.
It has the best lightsaber fight in the entire series. You could argue episode 1
Sure.
is Darth Maul, but I disagree because you have Palpatine and Yoda at the same time that you have Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Okay.
So it's just, that's peak. It's just the best one.
Okay. Where do the others fall? Because
Okay.
you had number 1 there. So
Then-
where does everything else go?
Then we go to like what most people would say the best, episode 5, Empire Strikes Back.
There we go.
Episode 4 and 6, I'd say, are tied.
Okay.
Episode 4 is probably better.
Wait, hold on. So you're saying Ewoks on the same level as the OG Star Wars number 4?
Yes. So
Wow,
the
okay.
reason is the emotion. Okay.
Okay.
So the Ewoks, I'm not a big fan of the Ewoks,
Of course you aren't.
but if you just consider the throne room scene with Luke, Darth Vader, and Emperor Palpatine, that right there is better than anything in episode 1.
Okay.
I would argue, which is why, as a whole, episode 4, episode 4 is better, but episode 6, and you said my ranking, episode 6 is like, it makes me feel stuff.
Okay.
So that's why I would make them equal.
Okay.
And then 1 and then 2.
And you don't even rank the new ones.
I do. Okay.
You do. Okay.
They're at the end. I can say that I don't like them.
Okay.
But they are canon, so I will rank them.
Sure. You seem
Descending order.
Okay, you seem pained by this, sir.
Not pain. It's just disappointing.
What are we doing here kind of thing?
Yeah.
Did you feel that episode 7 just was a retread of 4?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Then we're in agreement here.
Yeah, it's okay. So my biggest thing is continuity.
Okay.
All right. So Anakin is I don't know if you ever watched like the Clone Wars animated series.
No, I
Okay.
did not.
So there's this peak.
Okay.
It's the best thing that Star Wars has ever made. First of all,
Really?
yes, the animated Clone Wars series is the best thing that Star Wars has ever made.
You're not counting like Andor or anything like that?
It's better than Andor. It's better than
Wow.
any live action. It is the best Star Wars thing.
Okay. Mandalorian too?
Mandalorian fell off.
But it's the same. Wow. Okay. Mr. Dave Filoni would like to have a word with you, sir, because
Okay.
he's behind both of them.
Okay, that doesn't mean
It does.
it
Because
doesn't mean that the third season is not as good as the first season.
I'm just telling you, Dave has been a wonderful guiding force of that.
And I have
whole-
no ill words for him. I'm just saying that the later parts are not as good as the first parts.
Okay,
That's all I'm
okay.
saying.
I mean,
The guy with the turret gun had no reason to sacrifice himself. The guys are coming, and he's like, closes the door. Just go. Go on the other side of the door and then close it. Why are you sacrificing yourself just for an epic scene? Like, I just want it to make sense.
Okay.
Circle back to what I was saying about
okay,
Rey.
okay.
I just want it to make sense in that part where in the animated series, there's a scene where Anakin goes to this like force planet, and there's like these primordial force beings. Okay. There's the father, who's like basically a force god, and then his son is like the embodiment of the dark side, and his daughter is like the embodiment of the light side. And the father's like, "You're the chosen one. You have to replace me." And there's a scene where he like becomes a god, and he's like, "Kneel." So he's like the guy. Rey is more powerful than him. Why? Explain it. Like, it's fine if it's explained. Oh, she's Palpatine's daughter.
Well, hold on.
Okay.
Because somehow Palpatine returned.
Oh, don't even.
I'm just saying. He just showed back up, sir.
Lazy writing is the worst thing. If I had it like a genie's wish, I'd want to be like the guy in the room where it's like, here's the script. I'm like, you need to change this right now. This is not okay.
Okay.
Why is he back? You can't think of a reason why he came
I was
back?
just mad that it was him. Like, I just thought...
I'm not even mad that it was him, but just make it make sense. Explain it in an interesting way.
If you really think about it, there's very few answers or versions of this that you would have been okay. Like, we had already done it. So those Ewoks were celebrating for nothing. Yeah. This was dumb. Okay? Then you get him coming back, and I'm thinking, like, dude, weren't we building to this other guy? And then this other dude just gets wasted real quick.
Yep.
And then we don't really have stakes.
He's not even a real guy.
No. So then you're thinking, like, we have a messy Kylo Ren situation where he seemed like he was going to be fun.
Kylo Ren was the only good character in those movies.
Sure, but, like, he had promise. We thought there was something there.
And then he falls off.
And then it's just like everybody has this moment where I go, like, what are we doing here? So I had issues with them. But there were some things that I did appreciate in terms of attempts, because I do have feelings about the fandom in general. And I feel like sometimes they think it's a sacred text. And I'm like, you know what's great about movies? They can stop. So that means you don't have to watch the other part. So people were like, Luke didn't get the walk-off that I wanted. And I go, well, sometimes people don't turn out that way. Sometimes they're very flawed. I could see that. But it's like, well, Luke didn't end like this. And I was like, you can stop watching after 6. And then nothing bad happens in your brain.
So let me stop you right
there. Go ahead.
I agree with you for the most part.
Okay.
What I disagree with is when a character... I'm going to change the property. Okay. We're going to talk about Game of Thrones.
Oh, God, no.
Okay. So I'm blanking on his name. The swords guy gets his hand cut off. Okay. The brother. The twin brother.
I don't watch that one.
Okay. But
go ahead.
In short, he sucks. He's a terrible person. And then slowly throughout the seasons, he's getting like, okay, he did that for what he thought was the greater good. Right. Okay, he feels bad about that. He's not a total dick. He's like becoming nicer. Okay. And at the very end, he has like a choice. I can be a good guy or I can be a bad guy. Okay. And then he just becomes a bad guy for like no logical reason. Sure. So it's just like that kind of writing is what pisses me off. Like, what was the point of all that character building if there was no character growth in the end?
I can kind of see that. Yeah.
Luke has a whole journey. He goes from being like a whiny little bitch to being like a wise Jedi. And then the whole prequel trilogy or sequel trilogy, he's just hiding and he doesn't do anything. And he's like, go away. I'm going to drink this weird milk.
Yeah. I think the subtext is just as people age, they're not exactly who you think they are. Because he might be this mythical person, but at his core, he's still a human. Whereas we got to be afforded, like, man, Yoda seemed like that guy, like a really stand-up guy. But then he's complicated because he also didn't confer with Anakin. And when you do those sorts of things, you build a monster in that. So everybody's flawed, and I don't mind that. It's just when people need them to be these pristine, unflawed characters that I go, that's boring. I don't want that.
I agree.
So that's where I go, shut up, nerds. Just watch the story, and if you don't like it, you don't have to like it. You don't have to put a diatribe about this. But it did seem like you were about to put a diatribe, and you were told by someone to not do it. So what was it you were going to do in regards to episode 3? You were almost going to put a post up, and what was that post going to say?
So I was going to, just a black screen, and I was going to say, episode 3 is a cinematic masterpiece, and anybody who disagrees is an uncultured swine.
Okay.
Period. Don't argue with me because you're wrong. You can't argue. It is.
I mean, I can.
You can't.
I can, but I don't want to spend the whole interview on that. I feel very secure in my ability to say, You were a child then when you watched it. You have grown into adult.
And it's still great.
You know what? For you, yes. But what's wild to me is I was a college age kid seeing that movie. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I was excited because there's a lot of build up to me. It was like, all right, let's see it. Outside of the volcano scene, there was me going, okay, let's get there. And then there's a little bit of me laughing.
I can be objective. Okay. I know, like I was explaining,
yeah.
I know it has flaws, but it's one of those things where it's like the flaws in the long run just make it better.
They made it endearing, Raf.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like when he cuts off Mace Windu's hand, what have I done? It's just funny.
I mean, I laughed my ass off.
Yeah.
And you know the person you were describing being with the kid right next to you? That was me 20 years ago. 100% in the theater. Because I have no problem. I've been told that I have a laugh that can make people feel very self-conscious. Because I'll just do like a instant and then they'll be like, was that at me? And I go, oh, maybe.
Yeah, I could see that actually.
So when I'm in a theater and I'm laughing at that moment, there were definitely people who were like, excuse me, sir, we are in the middle. And I was like, it's a space soap opera. Chill the fuck out. We can laugh. Mm-hmm. And the same thing, dude. I lost my shit in the theaters when Yoda was spinning around in episode 2 and was basically a furball with a lightsaber. And I just thought, I mean, it's awesome, but it's also really funny. So I laughed out pretty loud.
The rule of cool. It supersedes everything.
Okay.
And episode 3 is the rule of cool.
Okay. So you mentioned going to conventions. Who are you dressing up as then?
So over the years, I've dressed as a lot of characters. Okay. Farm Boy, Luke Skywalker, when I was a kid. More recently, I dressed as Starkiller, who's a character from a video game. Okay. I actually met the guy. Oh. Funny story. We were outside eating at the food trucks. Yeah. And I was dressed up in my my thing, and we were eating. My little brother was dressed as Lando Calrissian, which...
Famous.
Yeah, but when you see my older brother was Lando years ago.
Oh, 20 okay. Years ago. So
now it's my little brother. When you go to a Star Wars convention, I don't know why. There's like 6 black people. Okay. Yeah. So I saw like 4 white Landos. I saw 1 Asian Lando. And then there's my brother who's like the one like, oh, that actually kind of looks like him. So everyone stops and is like taking pictures. So it's like, at this point, it's like normal. We walk like 10 feet and someone stops us every time. Fair. So I'm sitting there eating, and then I hear, oh, that's cool. Can I take a picture? And I was like, whatever. I turn around. It's the guy from the game, Sam Whitworth. I don't know his last name, but it's him. And I was like, he was like, oh, you look good too. And I was like, dope. So, and we took our pictures. It was cool meeting him. Very nice. Yeah. So
do you go as a different character each time you go, or have you kept a certain costume both times?
When I was a kid, I would do a lot. My mom would make a lot of costumes, but now that I'm older, I had plans. When I used to work a lot more and I had money, I was going to do a whole clone trooper armor set. Me and my cousin, we had dreams of that, but that's like $2,500. At least it was then. Yeah. So we never got around to it. So now it's just kind of, it's tamed down. Okay. I usually just like wear a cloak now, but maybe if I make some money, I'll get my dream set.
It's good to know. What people don't know is when we were rolling, this man attacked me with like a pool noodle. It was just out on the side. Normally we use the pool noodles for the kids here as a way to help with their striking. And he just managed to get one. And I just, knowing his nerdiness for all the Star Wars, which now you know, which I don't think you probably knew. But when he started attacking me with the pool noodle, I just go, hey man, you can leave your lightsaber here. And he's like, I've got 3. And I was like, somehow I knew that.
That's the tip of the iceberg.
What is the other part then?
I have a collection of medieval swords.
Oh shit!
I'm also a history buff. Okay. Specifically pre-gunpowder. So I
saw in one of your videos, you had a late night where you were essentially unsheathing a sword.
And that is Andrew from Lord of the Rings.
My apologies.
That's the Sword of the King, Aragorn's sword from episode 3.
Let me ask this.
The 3rd movie.
What prompted you to do this at the late night?
It was just one of those things where my family were up late and we just got into like a jokey mood and we were just having a good time. We made a little Mortal Kombat skit, and then I chased my dog around with the sword for a little bit.
This poor dog has to be so confused, being like, "Why is this human chasing me with a
She
sword?"
had a good time. She kind of looks like a warg, so just like the movie, we were reenacting the scene from the movie.
I have these curiosities because as I look at it, these are things that I would not have guessed about you. But when I kind of scroll through and I see you have these nerdy things, the other thing that kind of struck out to me is your ability to draw. I didn't kind of know that about you. When did you find you had this capacity for drawing?
I can't draw. That was one time in art class, and for some reason, it came out really good. And I was like, this is my art piece. This is my Mona Lisa.
You could have fooled me.
It can't be recreated. My drawing ability is terrible. Like, I remember doing it in art class, and the whole time I was like, why is this so good? Because I can't draw for crap. Why is it coming out so good?
I mean, I thought it looked really impressive. So when I saw it, I was like, damn, this kid might just have another gift that I may not know. But you're telling me now it's all for naught. It was a one-time
That's
thing.
a one-off.
Okay.
That was a fluke.
Okay. So, we're coming up on it. By the time people see this interview, they'll have already seen the date pass. But do you have plans for the 4th? Do you do anything for the 4th?
So, yes. The 4th is actually my mom's birthday.
Oh, that's amazing.
So it coincides.
That's
Usually, historically, we would go to Disneyland.
Okay.
And go like on all the Star Wars rides and stuff. But this year, I don't know. I'm going to a fight on the 3rd. I know that. So we'll probably get together for my mom's birthday. Maybe have a little Star Wars marathon, perhaps. Okay. Some themed desserts. I used to have a Star Wars cookbook. I wonder where that is. In my attic, I have, it's not mine, my mom. I have like 20 boxes of Star Wars memorabilia. So it's in there somewhere.
Fascinating.
In high school, side story, sorry.
Go ahead, please.
My room was just shelves of all in-box Star Wars toys.
Oh my God.
Like 100 of them. And I remember one time I came home and I was yelling at my brother because he left me at a family birthday party. And I was like, what the heck, man? You left me? And I opened the door and then there was a girl in there. She was asking me to prom. And I was like, in my room, my nerdy Star Wars room. It was kind of crazy. But yeah, funny story.
I mean, listen, I always like to tell people, I go, if somebody can get past your nerdiness, you're in for a good relationship. But especially when you're that young, being like, hide the Star Wars. I don't know. We don't know how she's going to take it. And if she did, it's like, she's cool with it. I mean, I'll go to prom. Yeah, let's do that. So good for you, young man. All right. Let's get into some origin story here because it's relatively new. So we have to get some bridge here. You're about 28 right now. Yeah. Okay. So that meant you were starting your martial arts journey somewhere around after 25. But what was happening beforehand? We got a sense that you're this giant nerd as a kid. So what were you doing? You were playing sports. If so, what sports were you playing as a kid?
So I played football pretty much my entire life since I can remember. And then baseball periodically thrown in there, more so in high school. But I've always played sports pretty much year round. I've tried, except for like ice hockey and like water polo, like things like that. But like every major sport, I've tried at least once. Football was the one that stuck. I always wanted to go into martial arts. I did a little bit of taekwondo, but it was, I have nothing against taekwondo, but that experience wasn't great. But my dad was really set on the more typical sports route. So went through, high school, college, started working full time, and then just working out, staying active. I got bored of just going to the gym, but I want to stay active. So I was like, maybe I'll join like a volleyball league or a men's flag football league or something. And then my girlfriend was just like, you said you wanted to do, I think it was boxing at the time, or maybe it was just straight MMA. And I was like, I don't know. It's like I said, I don't want to do it just for fun. Like if I want to do something, I want to win, which means I'm going to compete. And I'm 26. Like you can't start training at 26. She was like, just do it. And I was like, all right, I'll just do it. And then I went to my gym, Aguirre's fighting system in Fontana. And after one day, I was like, all right, sign me up. And then that's it.
Let's take a moment here because I realized there was something that I messaged you a long time ago about. Because on the broadcasts, I say Aguirre's. And I was like, hey, bud, can you do me a solid here? Because I'm not sure I'm right.
Mm-hmm.
You never got back to me.
Yeah.
But you're saying it now. And I'm like, oh, yeah.
I did check.
Okay.
And then I forgot. Okay. So I say Aguirre's.
Okay.
I think technically you're supposed to roll the R like Aguirre.
Okay.
But I think for just like American speech,
sure,
it's Aguirre's.
Aguirre's. Okay.
I could be wrong, but that's how I've always said it, and no one's ever corrected
me. Well, you forgetting is important when I'm commentating your fight.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of me that second guesses this stuff. And what people don't recognize. So when you watch a UFC telecast, they have a team that helps the main broadcasters. That does not exist at Sparstar. So the research department starts and ends with this guy. So that's me being like, hey, bud, can you help me out? I really need to get this. And you're like, got it.
Yeah, that's my bad. I totally forgot.
But then you're fighting, and I go, I can't message him right now.
When I watched back the fight, in my walkout, I heard you say, I actually asked Elijah about the name. And I was like, oh, crap. I never told him.
And I'm like, I wanted to make it very clear to everybody watching this. I tried. Mm-hmm. I did my due diligence because I've got a homie that goes by Aguirre with a very similar spelling, if not the exact same name.
It could be Aguirre.
But I'm not.
I could be totally wrong.
I just want to make sure. So, sir, if you see this, I want you to understand I've tried. I did the best that I could. I will try to remember in the future. But because I do have another homie that goes by Aguirre, it has made it very difficult for me to not say that initially. But I do have the wherewithal to at least ask. Because I do try to do that. I have what I refer to as Ron Burgundy disease, which is if it's in the prompter, I just say it that way.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So this thing, not super smart, especially when I have to like tell a story. So when you guys come out, I'm trying to tell a story about you guys, and I have very limited information. Mm-hmm. And then when you're painting a canvas on the mats with your martial arts, it becomes very quick where I go, okay, you want the move, but you also want why it's important to that person. So you're building. And then if you have a split second where you go, that's a Kimura from, oh man, you can tell he's got it from the Aguirre style of Jiu-Jitsu. Like your brain has a big malfunction on air. And they can only hear it, but it sounds like I'm probably having a stroke if my brain does like a split second thing. So I go, I'd like to know if I like to know. So anyway, that's his fault, not mine.
I'll take the blame. I'll get it figured out tomorrow.
Thank you.
I'll get it squared away.
We'll get it squared away. So that way we get to the bottom of it. Let's return back to the origin story. So you were thinking of boxing, but like what influenced your want to do boxing? Like what specifically about that was talking to you? Because if you're doing these other contact sports or these other sports that are a little bit more modernized where everybody does them, it is kind of interesting to have that want of football is cool, but I want to go to boxing. Most people don't necessarily do that, but why was it speaking to you at that age?
I think it kind of stems back to like the nerdy stuff. Like I like watching like kung fu movies and like fighting in general. So it's like I want to do that. I can't go out and stab people, obviously, with like a broadsword, but I could learn martial arts, and that's pretty cool too.
Yeah.
And then my family, we would often have Christmas Eve boxing matches.
Oh.
It was like a tradition that we had for a long time. And I was like the reigning champion. So I was like, kind of have a little bit of ego. I was like, I think I'd be good at this. So I started doing it. And I'm very glad that I did.
So how many brothers and sisters do you have?
So I have an older brother, a younger brother, and a younger sister. And another older brother, half brother, but I've never met him. So I don't know.
Gotcha.
If that counts.
So you were the reigning champion amongst those family members?
And my cousins.
Oh, how many cousins do you have?
Hella cousins.
Hella cousins. Yeah. Okay. So you were feeling pretty good. I mean, this isn't too far off. I am Hispanic. This isn't too far off from what we would do at a barbecue, if you would. And I, at that age, had no interest. Like my family on my mom's side, huge boxing fans. And that didn't speak to me then. It wasn't until I started getting older that I saw the science behind the grappling side that I said, oh, I can do that. Because before I was just like, oh, if you're a tough guy, you could probably wrestle. You could probably do this. I never saw a means for me being able to be a technical nerd. And then all these years later, I put it together where I was like, oh shit, when I was watching pro wrestling, that's where I know these transitions from. Like it made sense when I started doing this and I started putting stuff together. And a lot of the times I have to like mentally tell myself not to hit them with like a dragon sleeper because that's like a crank. Like I go, oh, don't do that to them. That might actually not make me any friends here. So that was my base of how I got into it. So you're telling me that those initial things where the family was having those boxing matches and said, that's cool for Christmas, but your dad's saying not in practicality.
It wasn't so much my dad said, no, you can't do it. It was like, when are you gonna do that?
Yeah.
You got football practice.
Yeah.
So it just kind of never happened. But, you know.
I mean, having said that, the thing that screwed me up was soccer was the same season as wrestling. And I would have tried to do that and arguably would have been better at wrestling had I started then. But my journey was destined to find jiu-jitsu way later. And I'm happy it did. Found it at the perfect time for me. So that makes sense. Let's jump to your first jiu-jitsu class now because I want to understand how you found this.
I don't even remember, to be honest. I just went to Aguirre's, and then they have everything there. And I was like, no, I just want to do like Muay Thai type is like what I envisioned for myself. And then I started doing just like the sparring tournaments. And I was like, that's cool. And that's when you start getting into like the ethos of like martial arts. And like you start watching like UFC a little bit and you're like, okay, I could kick a guy in the head, but what would I do if a guy tackled me?
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to be complete. Side story. Not side story, but there's a movie called Undisputed, I think, from Boyka.
Yep.
And he's obsessed with being like the complete fighter. So I watched that a little bit after I started training. And I was like, I need to be a complete fighter. Like, I don't want to be really good at kickboxing and then some guy just tackles me and breaks my arm.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, I'll just start doing it. And then my coach was like, hey, you wanted to have an MMA fight? And I was like, fuck it, we ball. Let's do it. And it was my first fight, gladiator challenge.
Okay.
I was supposed to fight. They showed me a video of the guy. I was like, cool, easy. He dropped out the same day. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to fight. And then they come to me and they're like, hey, the championship guy dropped out in your weight class. So do you want to fight for the belt against that guy? And this guy's good.
Yeah.
I was watching him warm up and I was like, this is my first fight. I've only been training at this point for like, in total, not even a year. Ground game, like 4 months. I don't know about this. Fuck it, let's do it. My family's here. I'm not gonna be like, hey guys, sorry. So we went out and did it, and we pulled out the win. It was rough, but we got it. And I was like, this feeling of just like, I don't know how to explain it, but like the feeling of like being in there and like having all those emotions, and then at the end, which it was a decision win, which we don't like decision wins, but it's we take it.
It was also your first experience on an opponent that you didn't fully have time to prepare for.
Fully, they told me like 45
That's
minutes.
what I'm saying. So you're just being like, well, it was a decision win. Like, no, objective was achieved, just maybe not the means you wanted to.
But just the feeling of like, I don't know, accomplishing a goal that's not like make your bed. Yeah. Like, or move the document from this Excel sheet to like work stuff. But like something's like, I put blood, sweat, and tears into this and I won. Like that's like, that was when I was like, all right, this is for me. Like training is cool. I love training. I would train even if I wasn't competing. But winning in the competition is like, that's where I was like, I was built for this.
See, we normally ask, when did you fall in love with martial arts or jiu-jitsu? So you're telling me that was the moment? It wasn't like in the gym or anything, like that was the moment?
No, the gym sucks. I hate training. Like, it's fun because like you're with your buddies and it's like you're having a good time, but it's like you're getting beat up. I hate grappling. You're getting choked. You're getting slammed. At best, you're beating up somebody else, but it's like they're not that, like they're newer.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's fun, but it's like work. Like, I'm torturing myself right now.
Yeah.
That part sucks. But I can recognize why it's important.
Right.
And the suffering is what makes it so good. Because if it was just like you just show up and you win all the time, it's not fun.
Yeah.
Like, that's whatever. Suffering through it, working, and then coming out with the win, that's the feeling. So it's part of it, obviously. But the winning is what that was like. All right. You can't get this feeling anywhere else.
So obviously that's the beginning of the journey. You've been on this great path. You have a really solid record, and it's been fun watching your fights. Where do you envision yourself going? Like, what is the plan now for you in the future? Like, where do you see yourself in like 1 or 5 years?
There is no plan. There is no vision. It is, I will go until I feel like I cannot go anymore. So if like I get injured really bad, I'm like, all right, this is as far as I go, or whatever. But I will continue to train and fight. And if that takes me to pro, which at this point
seems likely,
yeah, that's, we know at least that much.
Yeah.
I will be a pro. Does that take me to the PFL? Does that take me to the UFC? Does that take me to one? Whatever. Sorry. That I don't know. I'm a realist. I'm 28 years old. I've only been training for 2 years. I'm not going to be like, I'm going to be UFC champion. I'm the best in the world. Maybe I am. Do I think that? Not so much. But will I become that? Maybe, if I keep pursuing as I have been. There is no plan. Whatever happens, happens. That's kind of how I'm going with this.
Cool. I mean, it is nice and refreshing to have somebody who says to themselves, I'm open to the opportunities, and I'm going to see what comes up, and I'm going to be receptive to it and take the best, because you're also the guy that, when given the opportunity on your first fight, made the most of it, and it worked out. So far so good on that. And with what is it now, a 7-1 record?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a really good start to an MMA career. Obviously, things get harder, but I think, as I mentioned, especially for your last win, even though it was a decision and you're kind of in your head, it's like I said, you're getting those really good reps that I think are going to come twofold in as you go into your pro experience. So I'm very excited for that. Well, sir, now that you don't know exactly what the future holds, I can just tell you I'm excited for what that might be, because you've been fun to watch, and getting to know you a little bit better today and watching the way you roll. What I was telling you was, I like getting a progress marker. This is where you're at today. I fully envision a more complete grappler the more time that you get to experience it. Like, you've done a great job of taking what you knew as an athlete from your football experience, from your youth, and making that work for you now. And you could see, because, I mean, you look like you're having fun when you're striking. So you could see why that early boxing influence is now why you have this giant grin on your face when you're out there. Like, yeah, okay, this all checks out. And like I said, you're a submission specialist, and you can't do anything to me about it. So you're just going to have to accept it.
I'll take it.
There you go.
I'll take it.
Why don't we do this, sir? As we circle up right now, I always like to give people an opportunity to go ahead and shout out their sponsors. So there is a camera right there. That belongs to you. Feel free to thank anybody for your last fight or who's been helpful on your MMA journey thus far in.
So I'll start with not sponsors, but just shout outs in general. Of course, Aguirre's fighting system or Aguirre's fighting system. It could be either or. I'm not really sure. I'm not going to lie. But they are the best gym in the Inland Empire, Southern California, the world. It's truly, like, I know this is like cliche to say, but it is truly a family. Like, I went to one other gym, which I won't name, and I was like, I'm a number. Like, they do not care. And then I went to Aguirre's the next day, night and day. I signed up that day. It was like, okay, they care.
Yeah.
They care. Like, Aguirre's fighting system is the best gym, even though I know this is your gym.
You know what? Here's the thing. You need to say what you need to say, but I'm like, everybody knows this is the place to be. But nonetheless,
the only two things are true. Aguirre's is the best gym. Star Wars Episode 3 is the best movie. Those are the only two things that are true. Anything else that they say is false.
I don't. Okay.
There is no disagreeing. My family, my girlfriend, who is the one who gave me the final push to actually pursue this, which I'm very grateful. And then my sponsor, Meals by Mel, it's a meal prep company.
Nice.
Based in, I think they come out of Rialto, but they service all of Southern California, not all, but most of Southern California. Honestly, I have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to nutrition in general, but specifically cutting weight. They are the only reason that I am able to cut weight in any way. Because if I wasn't, it'd be like the chicken and rice and broccoli thing. Yeah. And that's not sustainable. So it's really good food, really good macros. I know macros because I was a gym guy before. I forget which meal it was, but they have one meal that I always get for the fight week, 560 calories.
Okay.
62 grams of protein.
Yo.
I was like, okay, easy math.
Right.
I'll eat 2 of these and I'll be set. It makes my life, I couldn't cut weight if I didn't have them. Yeah. So I'm very grateful. Meals by Mel. You have to check them out. Food is so good. It is so good. So convenient. That's the main thing, of course. It's a meal prep company. You can't, convenience. I love it so much. Yeah.
Sweet. Well, you know what? Hey, man, we learned a lot about you and perhaps too much Star Wars, but that is you. That is your core.
Yeah.
And we learned that you don't know how to rank the Star Wars movies properly. And that
everybody has their own opinion.
They do.
Some are just wrong.
Some are right, though.
Yours.
I'm so sorry. You're a child. Never forget that. And you're biased because you have how many lightsabers again?
3.
Okay. I think
and a half.
What's the half is
it's a broken one that I need to get fixed.
By the way, there is a tournament next week out at CMMA, Chad George, his gym, and they have it on the 4th, and it's May the 4th themed. And he was asking me, he's like, do you mind like reposting? I was like, absolutely, I got you. And I read it again, and on there they said, you do win lightsabers if you win that grappling tournament.
I always miss the good events.
I know, man.
I always miss the good events.
I'm just saying. So I might have to tell him, like, hey, man, can you put on another one so I can tell my buddy Elijah that he needs to go win that up? Like, that's probably the best motivation. I don't know that a medal or a belt.
Medals mean nothing to me.
Belts? A little bit more.
I got a couple of them.
Yeah.
I don't need any more of them. Our case at the gym is full. So.
Just love the idea. It's like, I got a couple belts, and I was like, fam, if they give you another one, I'm pretty sure you're going to take it.
Of course, I'd be happy with another one.
But a lightsaber, even if it's a shitty one, would that motivate you more?
Oh, yeah. Even a shitty one is so cool. Rule of cool.
Rule of cool? Okay.
Beats everything.
Good to know.
The most important rule.
Listen, I'm learning as I go here, people. But Elijah, you've been a pleasure to get to know better today. I'm looking forward to your journey. It's been fun to commentate your fights. I'm sure I'll commentate more. But you have an open invitation to come back here, and I look forward to charting your progress. And the next time we roll, I will whisper in your ear, yes, episode 5 is still better than episode 3. Everybody needs to
let me just cap it off one last time.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Episode 5 objectively is better.
Then, okay, end of story. We're done.
No, but you asked my ranking. I asked you before the ranking. I said my ranking or what is the best.
That's fine.
Episode 5 is clearly the best.
Society has always said that it's episode 5.
Society is also wrong on a lot of things.
Society is right on this one, though. Everybody is right on this one.
You asked me for my personal.
I did, and I wanted to know why it was wrong. Thus, camera back on me. Hey, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Here's what I'm going to tell you, since this is so heated here. And my man, he's been like, you know what? When we were rolling, he would do that thing that MMA guys do every once in a while. They're just like, oh, man, if I could just hit you with an elbow here. And I was just like, well, you can't. You're not even a pro yet. You don't have elbows yet.
True.
So, just saying. And I did not hit him with an elbow.
I didn't hit you with the elbow. I imagined it.
No. You did more than imagine it. I will pull up the record on here.
It didn't touch you, though.
It didn't touch me, but you were simulating that. You were like, man, if I could, it would be fun to do that.
I'm sorry, but like when you're rolling, you're supposed to be working on things. And that's what I'm going to be doing.
No, I understand.
So I need to work on it.
But was I working on that?
It didn't hit you. So you don't have to worry about it.
I have notes on what I'm doing the next time we're rolling. That's all I'm saying.
I'll wear elbow guards.
Yeah, this dude's
Elbow
gonna
pads.
come in at elbow pads, literally over here. Now I know exactly all the stuff that he's gonna come in. Why don't you have a Star Wars rash guard? I guess that's the question.
You know what's crazy? Because I'm also a big anime guy.
Yeah,
I have a cart online with like 35 rash guards in it,
I'm positive.
and it's like $650. And every day I look at it and I'm like,
and
do
I'm sure
it.
you've got a Goku in there
yeah.
somewhere. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I know. All right. Well, I'm gonna camera back on me. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to ask you guys to like, comment, and subscribe. And in the comment section, I told you I would give you a prompt. Which one is the best Star Wars movie? Now, some of you might even say Rogue One.
Nobody's going to say that.
Some people do. They think it's one of the better ones.
It is one of the better ones.
Yeah.
I didn't even rank it. I forgot about Rogue One, but we'll
I asked you to. You weren't going to put Han in there or Solo.
Oh, it's towards the end. But yeah, Rogue One's good. I won't rank it. It's good, though.
Would you put it on the higher end or lower end?
Higher end.
Okay, that's it. Then we're good. Anyway, in the comment section, put it in. But just know, this dude is so wrong. Like, I know if you're like under a certain age, that like episode 3 is a special place in your heart. But just remember, be objective. You're not a child anymore. Go back and watch it. It like Volcano, A+. Everything else, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Crazy work.
But episode 5, top tier, start to finish. Yoda makes his first appearance. Just remember that.
Does he do any flips?
First of all, Yoda didn't need to do flips because Yoda was a fucking beautiful puppet.
I know. I agree.
And Frank Oz, thank you for your work, sir. We appreciate you. All right. You can also find us on Instagram, Twitch, Twitter, all that sort of stuff. Be sure to find us, rapesparza.com/merch. Support the show. Buy some t-shirts. Buy some hoodies. We appreciate that. You can also find this on patreon.com/grappling hour. $5 a month. You see these interviews 30 days before everybody else. And for a few extra dollars, you see some extra bonus content not available anywhere else. And if you want to continue the conversations that we have here on the show, you can find us on our Discord at Grappling Hour. Ladies and gents, that's going to do it for us here at the Grappling Hour. Thank you so much for watching along with us. We appreciate you guys. It has been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats.